Hello and welcome to another yoga practice. This particular practice is for the throat chakra, Vishuddha Chakra. So it focuses on a lot of heart opening shapes, backbends, and movements which awaken and open the energetics of the throat chakra itself. The throat chakra is all about communication, living in alignment with who we truly are. It's about freedom of expression, courageous conversations, speaking our truth, and living in alignment with our true selves. It actually means purification. The Sanskrit word Vishuddha translates to purification. So when you actively work to speak your truth more in your life, it actually begins to purify your life. It helps you to release anything that is in your life that's not in alignment with who you truly are. So to begin, just finding a seated position, either in a kneeling seiza like I am today or a cross-legged shape, and just take the next few moments to connect to the rhythm of your breath and to draw your awareness up through towards the heart space, the throat chakra itself, all the way up to this region of your throat, your heart, your chest, your lungs, and begin to guide your breath up into the upper chest, all the way up through towards the top of the head, guiding your awareness up the body. And then, like an anchor, grounding you back down towards your sit bones, breathing out. From here, begin to catch a bind in your hands. Draw the bind all the way up from the base of your body. So we'll do it together now. Drawing the bind up on the inhale. Exhale, push the bind away from you. Inhale, reach your arms up above you. And exhale, take your arms wide beside you. We'll do that one more round. Inhale, draw the bind up. Exhale, push away. Breathe in, draw your arms up. And exhale, take your arms wide beside you. Catching a bind behind you, bring the top of your head behind you, so you're beginning to open up the throat for a moment, catching this beautiful big chest opening, shoulder stretch. And then with the next exhale, we will begin to actually take that bind forward, so your forehead will find the top of the mat, and you'll bring the stretch over and above, like so, and feel just sort of the sensation of gentle pressure on the top of the crown or the top of the head as you feel this gentle opening through the shoulders and the chest. Breathing in through the nose and breathing out through the nose. Taking about 2 more deep breaths in and out. Releasing from the position, pressing back up into your kneeling shape and starting to find a side bend. Releasing the right hand down, left arm sweeps above. Releasing the left hand down, right hand sweeps above. And alternating side to side 1 more round each way. Noticing the side of your bodies, all this tissue and fascia along the sides opening up. Beginning to draw your hands wide to the side, creating a cactus arm, and exhale like you're hiding, closing back down, dropping onto the knees. Breathe in, open up into a high kneeling position, arms open. Exhale, close the movement down. Inhale, chest opens. Exhale, sitting back down. We'll do 1 more big breath in as you open the chest, open your heart and arms, and exhale, closing, sitting back down. Breathe in, open, and exhale, close down the movement. Sitting in that high knee shape, starting to pulse out your knees, so you're starting to feel the quadriceps getting some activation through the front of your thighs, pulsing for 3, 2, and 1. Taking a few more rounds of that heart opening kneeling position, sitting down into our seat. We close the body with the breath out. Breathe in as you begin to open up once more. Then surrendering down into your kneeling position, take 1 hand to your heart space and the other around the throat. You might just gently tap your fingertips to the throat or your heart space itself, noticing the energetics of your throat, the energy that is here. You might like to take a mudra with all fingertips connected around the throat and see if you can connect to the energy around this chakra itself, visualizing the color blue surrounding this region of your body as you close your eyes down and connect inward, connecting to your throat chakra. Noticing if you feel like your throat chakra is openly flowing or if you feel like it might be blocked today. You can start to expand your hands away and imagine a ball of blue light that you're holding in your fingertips that's starting to circle and radiate around the throat. And as you draw your hands wider, that ball of light just begins to expand even more so. This next exercise is about engaging the back of our bodies to open up our chest. So we reach our arms up and above. And on the exhale, hook your elbows to the waistline as you draw your shoulders down and feel your heart space open. Inhale, hands reach up, exhale, elbows to waist, shoulders draw down. Breathing in and breathing out, elbows to waist, shoulders draw down. Then starting to scoop and rise. Hands reach up as you rise up onto your knees, sitting back down into a kneeling position, scooping your arms forward like you're scooping energy up to your throat, wrapping arms around and beginning to sit back down. Inhale, scoop and raise. And then exhale, flipping over now onto all fours, starting to find a cat-cow position. So the shoulders are over our wrists, our knees are hip distance apart, we dome out our upper back, drop our hips, micro-bend our elbows like you're gliding under an imaginary fence, and then return to your cat-cow. Elbows bend, imagine you're gliding under a fence as you look up. Exhale, shoulders dome out. So slightly varied here with the movements. Elbows bend, gliding under a fence, throat opens, look up. Exhale, shoulders dome out, chin to chest, engage your core. Another round, bend the elbows, imagine you're gliding under a fence, it helps. Exhale, shoulders dome out, chin to chest, belly to ribs, engage the core. Micro bend the elbows, glide under your fence, look up. And then just beginning to stir into your hips more intuitively with the shape. Stirring back and forth, side to side, moving into your body instinctively and intuitively as you invite in the motions of this position. As you invite the rhythm, the ebbs and flows of your breath as it moves in and out. Then starting to rise up onto your toes, lift your knees off the mat, find a downward facing dog. The chest folds back through towards your thighs and you're continuing to explore here. You might just like to jog out through the feet, pedaling through the calf muscles, noticing a stretch through both the chest, the lats, the back, the shoulders, but also the back of the legs themselves. Beginning to work through 4 rounds of vinyasa. Breathe in as you glide through your chaturanga, opening up the throat. And then bending your knees, returning to downward facing dog. Inhale, beginning to glide all the way forward once more through chaturanga, elbows bend, toes stay tucked under as you lift out of the throat and shoulders. Exhale, return to downward facing dog. Twice more. Breathing in, gliding through, elbows bend, lifting out of shoulders as toes tuck under, finding your upward facing dog, thighs lifted off the mat. Open throat, open heart. Lingering there for a moment with this one. And pressing back to downward facing dog. We'll work through one more round of vinyasa, traveling through, elbows bend, starting to keep the thighs lifted as toes tuck under, lift out of shoulders, open the heart, open the throat, look up towards the ceiling, the sky above. Exhale, ground your knees, widen them, find a child's pose position. So the throat chakra is about satya, which means truthfulness, being true to ourselves and others. It is about deeply knowing and understanding our authentic self, so that we can show up with honesty and clarity in all of our relationships. And this true, authentic truth expression begins when you give yourself the gift of your own presence and time, your own energy, to even know truly, to really truly understand what your truth even is, to know who you are away from the influence of others. So first, when we're working on the throat chakra, it's important to prioritize time with self, to get to know and love yourself. That way, when you are in relation with others, we can be ourselves more fully. So moving from child's pose now into melting heart, you're gliding your arms forward, your sit bones lift higher, the toes tuck under. And you should feel like a big magnetism, melting sensation, a heaviness perhaps around the heart space, an openness through your throat, which can be tucked to the mat or otherwise forehead meets the mat. It resembles a puppy dog's play bow with the sit bones lifted quite high, this real bowing and melting of the heart space deep down towards the mat line. We'll stay here for a few more deep breaths. The knees are wide on your mat, finding this deep opening around the chest and throat. Continue to guide your breath up into the lungs and the heart space itself as you work and hold the variation. As you notice what stirs up in this shape for your body through your awareness. Continuing to connect with the breath and guide the breath into regions of tension in your body. And transitioning out of melting heart in that variation towards one using your blocks, or otherwise you just ground your elbows to the mat shoulder width distance apart. For a deeper back bend, deeper heart opening stretch here, if you take your blocks to the highest level, it will become a deeper stretch for your heart space, the chest, the lungs, the throat, and the shoulders. If you take them to a medium range level, that can also feel good. So just take the time to notice what variation kind of feels right for you. Your head should sort of hover in the middle as you're preparing and setting yourself up. And if you do find that you have the blocks at a certain level and it doesn't feel right, just take the time to readjust. It is your practice after all. So continuing to breathe up into the chest and lungs, just like you've been doing so beautifully and effortlessly. Taking a few more deep breaths. You might even bring your palms behind the back of the head while you hold this one. Noticing how the energy in your body, the blood flow, all draws up towards the chest, the lungs, the heart, and the throat as we start to move through these different throat and heart chakra asanas. And when you're ready, you can just gently remove your blocks, press out of that one, and return to a downward facing dog for a few more big breaths where you might just move freely, intuitively, naturally, stirring out through your feet, and then beginning to travel all the way from down dog back into plank for another vinyasa. This round, keep your toes tucked and actively start to press and lift out of your shoulders, lift out of the support of your hands, and you can sort of just push back and forth, bending the knees, returning back to downward facing dog. It's just a different way of working through vinyasa. So again, travel forward to high plank, shoulders over the wrist, core is on. Work through your chaturanga, but keep toes tucked under this round as you press up into the palms, and really sort of focus on lifting out of the chest, opening up the throat, and sort of bringing your body weight forward as you pivot back on the toes. Bend the knees, return to downward facing dog, spiraling your way back. Taking a few more big breaths here in down dog and starting to maneuver the feet to each side of your mat. So turning the feet to the right as you feel a stretch through the left hip. Turning them to the left as you feel a stretch through the opposing right hip. Maneuvering side to side once more in that downward facing dog, and returning back for vinyasa. Shoulders over the wrists, elbows bend, chaturanga, toes stay tucked. Beginning to lift out of shoulders, hold, linger in your upward facing dog, pivoting back and forth, noticing that heart and throat and chest opener. Bend your knees, return to downward facing dog. Taking a few more big breaths, the feet are hip distance apart, the sit bones are lifted nice and high, your chest is folded back through towards your thighs, knees ground to the mat. Taking a moment to find a kneeling Virasana Sesa position and connect now with your heart chakra. The hands find the Anjali Mudra and settle at your heart space. And in the same way we did earlier, connecting with the energetics of your heart and your throat chakra. And as your hands sort of sit around this region, close your eyes down and see if you can gently pull your palms apart, imagining an orb of light surrounding your heart. And seeing if you can connect to that orb of light, imagining you're expanding it as you rise into this kneeling heart opening stretch. Sink back to your kneeling position, hips towards ankles, lifting up, open heart, open arms, open throat. Exhale, close the body down, sit back down. Breathe in, open heart, open throat, activate the front of your body. And then sitting back down, closing the movement, elbows towards you, doming out upper back, chin to chest. Inhale, open the shape, rise up to knees. Exhale, sit back. Sit bones towards your thighs, catch a bind behind your shoulders, sink forward with your torso, rising back up to a kneeling position. Hinging from your hips as you sink forward, maintaining the bind. Sitting all the way up, opening up the throat. A few more rounds, sinking back into this hinge position. Arms stay bound, rising up, opening the throat with arms still bound. Sinking back, hinging forward and preparing now for a headstand. We're not quite going for a headstand yet. We're just maintaining the bind, grounding the top of our crown, top of the head to the mat, letting gravity take the arms beyond the head as you maintain activation through the core, knees hip distance apart, just lingering in the shape. Breathing in through your nose, breathing out through nose or mouth. Take a few more big breaths. And then beginning to return back to that movement we were working with. Kneeling position with a shoulder stretch, rising up, opening the throat, opening the chest, almost like you're going for a camel, but you're not quite there yet. Hinging forward from the hips, arms stay bound. Breathe in, open your chest, open your heart, open your throat. And then exhale, hinge it forward from your hips, arms stay bound. Hovering your chest in the middle. Breathe in, open it up. Open your throat, keep the arms bound, hinging forward from the hips on the exhale. This one takes you in towards either another preparation for headstand where we hang out here with our shoulder bind, just forehead, top of the head, grounded towards the mat, abs engaged, or bring your hands down into a tripod-like shape. So elbows create a triangle around the head, both hands connect and support the head, and you lift up into your headstand if it is part of your practice today. If not, let it be. Linger in the headstand preparation exercise. Notice what feels in alignment, what is true for you, working with that. Trusting your intuition, trusting your body, trusting your instincts today. Maintain your breath, particularly if you're here within the shape. Breathing all the way up into your chest, your lungs, your heart space. Taking about 2 more slow breaths, point the toes, engage your core, ground through the elbows. Widening the legs if you're in your stand or having some fun playing with some leg variations while you're there. And then eventually just bringing your feet, vertebrae, slowly down towards the mat, grounding them, finding a child's pose position once more. The forehead finds our mat. We release our arms down by our sides. We sit up back into kneeling Virasana, finding our shoulder bind, hinge once again, rising up into a kneeling position, preparing for camel. The arms open wide. We sink back down to our seat. Breathe in, open your heart, elbows to waist, squeezing those scapulars, your shoulder blades, and sinking back down. Breathe in, open it up, elbows to waist, squeeze your scapulars. Exhale, close the movement down. Getting familiar with this one. Breathe in, open your throat, open your heart. Working instinctively, intuitively. Exhale, close. Breathe in, open the shape. Maintaining the breath as you work with these moving repetitive exercises, and then just beginning to come back to the hinge. rising up, elbows wide, squeezing your shoulder blades, taking a moment to move through the position, catching your bind, opening up the chest, starting to activate your glutes and the back body to open up the front of your body. Hands find the lower back and we come into our first proper variation of camel, Uttanasana. The throat is open. We're starting to lean into that support that we can create for ourselves through our hands and then come back into a hinge position, hinging all the way forward to a wide knee child's pose variety. The forehead finds the mat. We're grounded here. Our knees are quite wide. And then we start to bring our heart space through towards melting heart. And you can widen your knees sort of between a crossover between frog and melting heart, or whatever variation feels best for you here. Taking a few big breaths. Allowing your awareness to move inwardly towards your body, towards your breath, towards the presence that you can gift yourself in this moment, here and now. Starting to bring your hands under your shoulders and preparing to press on up out of that variety if you're ready, or if you're happy to linger here a little bit longer, you can. Take a few more big breaths wherever you've ended up so far in your frog or melting heart. Hands underneath the shoulders if you haven't already, pressing on up and out. This time we move into this hip opener, which is crossover between lion and seal. So your hands are shoulder width distance apart, sort of below your shoulders. The throat opens and we're just sort of pivoting back, maintaining these wide knees that resemble frog, and sort of feeling your body weight sink back towards your calves, and then coming into a full frog. So the forearms will ground to the mat, elbows underneath the shoulders, the knees widen, and noticing that I'm turning my toes outwardly now. So I've come into a full frog. You might like to maintain that for a few breaths and then come all the way up into downward facing dog. And if you'd like to linger in frog for a little longer, that's totally fine. I'm doing the voiceover over this practice today, so I apologize if I'm not always 100% in sync with what I'm doing on the mat. Pull through vinyasa, all the way through chaturanga, taking up dog with toes still tucked under here once more. Press into the palms, lift out of shoulders, open throat. Take a moment to linger in this upward facing dog, sort of pivoting back on the toes, noticing that opening, bend the knees, then let the sit bones lift high, return to downward facing dog. Take a few big breaths in, long emptying breaths out. The left leg sweeps high to the sky, we bend our left knee, preparing for a wild thing. The hips begin level and square, the left glute is active, then we turn the right toes to left edge, activate your glutes, open up the heart space, let that left arm and leg drape over to the right. Now you can bend that right knee, bend both knees, open up the chest into wild thing, then beginning to bend the knees, drop your hips, open it up. So you're sort of taking this moment to exhale, knees bend, and then inhale, open. Flip back, sweep left leg high, and then take the left leg forward for Anjaneyasana. So the left knee is over the ankle joint, and we're coming back into these sort of heart opening shapes. So the knee bends, our elbows track wide, we're squeezing into our shoulder blades. Breathe in like you're on an elevator, sort of reversing back with your legs as the arms pull forward, the body weight pulls back, and then sink it forward. Arms reach ahead, pulling the energy back as the leg lengthens, knee bends as you cactus your arms. Catch a bind, preparing for humble warrior. And then as you bind your way in, open the throat, bring your torso forward, hinging from the hips. You're in this grounded humble warrior preparation shape. The arms are starting to track over the line of your shoulders. And we ground our fingertips, frame the foot, rise up, preparing for a high lunge. Sweep your arms back up, coming into the same variation. So as you find your high lunge position, you're cactusing your arms, bringing the arms forward, hinging from the hips, lengthening your legs, cactusing your arms back behind you, opening your heart. Like you're bringing energy forward and then catching your bind, this time going for our standing humble warrior. Hinge from your hips, catch your shoulder bind, take your hands over the line of your shoulders and let your heart fold forward as gravity pulls your hands over and behind your shoulders. Your hips are level and square. Your big toes are grounded to the mat. Your core is engaged. Beginning to sweep all the way back up. We'll take a few more rounds. Cactus your arms or open your wings. Breathe in, lengthen the legs as arms reach up. Cactus your arms, knees bent. Breathe in, lengthen your arms, lengthen your legs. Exhale, squeeze, elbows to waist, squeeze into your shoulder blades. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, squeeze. Nice. Breathe in, lengthen everything. Exhale, frame the front foot. Sweep your left leg high back into three-legged dog. Big breath in. And then flip it back for wild thing. So you're activating your glutes, left leg over to the right, bending both knees. And then sort of lengthening, sort of pivoting back and forth. Gliding back through, the left hand stabilizes. You're finding a side plank leading you into star. Right leg lifts up, knee bends. See if you can catch the right big toe as you lift out of the left hand, opening it up into that star variation. Deep breath in. Release into wild thing the other way. Right arm over left, starting to hover your hips. The left knee is bent. We take our left arm around the left knee, wrap the right arm around, catching a bind here. Right leg is extended, left knee is bent. Deep breath in, looking over your right shoulder as you find the bind. Activating the core subtly as you hug in and up through the midline, and then flip back towards downward facing dog. Vinyasa, travel through once more. On the next inhale, travel towards your high plank variation, shoulders over the wrist, elbows bend. Keep toes tucked as you lift out of shoulders. Take a moment to linger with the shape. Open your heart, pivot back and forth on your toes. Open your throat, keep lifting out of hands, knees bend. Draw yourself back to your downward facing dog. Sweeping the right leg high, hips are level. Glutes are active. Bend the right knee, preparing for wild thing on the second side. So the right leg will flip over to the left side as you stabilize with left arm. Drape the right arm over to the left. Take a moment to just open to the shape. You can sort of bring your body weight forward as you bend that left knee. Bending the left knee, let it sink forward. Hover your hips. Breathe in, thrust back into wild thing. Exhale, hover the hips down, both knees bend, and then thrust it open. One more, hover your hips, and then flip back. Sweep your right leg high, three-legged to Anjaneyasana. Ground the right foot through. Breathe in, you're in your kneeling low lunge, hands sweep up like you're on an elevator, sink back. Bring your body weight forward, sink into your hips, and then lengthen the front leg as you glide back. So body weight sinks forward, body weight pulls back like you're on an elevator. Sink forward, or a chair lift. I don't know if that analogy works, but we'll go with it. Sinking forward, heart space pulls forward. Exhale, draw the energy back like you've got a ball of light that you're working through with your fingertips, with your heart space, with your throat. You're working with the energetics of your body. Open your throat, find the bind. You're deep in this hip opener. You're deep in a back bend, deep in this low lunge. Framing the front foot, preparing to come up to the standing variation. So you can lengthen that right leg for a moment. Just feel into the stretch. And then starting to bend the right knee, you'll end up in a high lunge with your bind. So the hands will begin to bind behind you as you find your high lunge. Your right knee lines over the ankle joint. You are preparing for humble warrior. So hinge forward from your hips with the hands bound. Bring that bind over the line of your shoulders as you engage your core. Gently hug in and up through the midline. Mula and Uddiyana Bandha activate as you stabilize through big toes, and then begin to release your hands, sweep them up, coming back into this chest opening, heart opening variation. Inhale, leg lengthens on the right side, arms reach up. Exhale, sink forward, squeeze into your scapulars. Breathe in, hands sweep up. Exhale, squeeze your shoulder blades, elbows to waist, open throat. You've done this before. Inhale, open heart, open throat, lengthen everything. Exhale, squeeze and lower. 2 more. In, lengthen. Exhale, squeeze and lower. Squeeze into the back body. Breathe in, catch the bind. We'll go 1 more humble warrior. Why not? Feeling your fingertips travel forward, and then just ground your knees. And then as you ground your knees, take the right leg behind in line with left, your back sort of preparing for camel now. Hands start to catch onto the lower back. Take a moment just to feel into that one. Then sinking back forward, hands underneath the line of your shoulders, sit bones lift high, your back in downward facing dog. Deep breath in. Right leg continues. Bend the right knee, flip it for wild thing over at the left. Stabilize with left hand, activate your glutes, open up your chest. Big breath in, sinking forward and back in wild thing as you bend that stabilizing left knee. Flip the right leg high to the sky. Ground the right foot, ground the right hand, left hand sweeps high, preparing for star. Sweeping the top. Left leg high as you stabilize the right hand below. See if you can catch the foot. Flip it back into wild thing. Activate your glutes. Sinking back. Bending the knee, sinking forward, taking a moment to enjoy the shape. And then hook the left elbow to the waistline. Breathe in, open it up back into wild thing. Exhale, left elbow to waist. Hook it there. Breathe in, open up your wild thing. 1 more. Exhale, hook. And then wrap that left arm around the left knee. Yeah. And then catch your bind. Take a big breath in and a long breath out. Noticing the shoulders stretch, and we come back towards our downward facing dog. Take a moment to stretch it out, travel through your vinyasa, chaturanga dandasana. Toes stay tucked, press into palms, lift out of shoulders. So this is just a variation that we're working with today with these toes tucked under. It's not always usually the way, but if you're focusing on sort of pulling your body weight forward, opening up the throat, it can gift a different sensation. Sit bones lift high, starting to stir out through your feet, stirring out through your hips. Lingering in the stretch. Then grounding your knees to the mats, sinking back down to child's pose position. And from child's pose, you can stay there or come down deeper for another melting heart. Arms are fully extended, chin is tucked under, so throat is open to the mat line, or forehead meets the mat instead in your melting heart if that is easier for you today. Taking a few more deep breaths. Connecting to the shape, connected to your heart, connected to your body. So when we're working with the throat chakra, it is essential to listen as much as we speak. Great communicators master both of these things. Releasing your melting heart, come down onto your belly, catch a bind, the same bind you've been working with throughout the practice, and then gently see if you can lift the feet up off the earth, hug the inner thighs, and begin to create a back bend here as you work with that gentle stretch. So lifting chest up, lifting up feet, hands are bound, opening up the throat, just lingering there in the stretch for a moment. This nice big back bend activator for all of the muscles of the back body. Bending your knees while you're bound, release the bind and see if you can catch your ankles. Otherwise, maintain the bind, work where you are. So you're coming through towards a bow pose. So we'll lower our chest, the ankles are bound with our hands, and then on the next inhale, you're going to slowly activate the muscles of your lower back as you lift your chest, heart space, and sort of press the feet away from your hands. Keep hugging inner thighs together, lifting up as high as you can, opening up that front line. Take 1 more big breath, hands release under shoulders, opening it up to that seal variety. Knees stay bent, creating a circuit from the back of the head towards the tips of the toes, lifting out of shoulders. Big breath in. Exhale, sink back, wide knee child's pose. Deep breaths. Moving back forward towards that seal variety, creating a circuit from the top of the head to the tips of the toes, pressing into the hands, lifting out of shoulders. Exhale, sink back to child's pose. A few more rounds. Breathe in, press forward, back into another seal pose. Knees bend, feet come together, throat opens, and then return all the way now into downward facing dog. Walking from downward facing dog to a forward fold at the back of the mat, the knees can bend. Your fingertips might find the elbows or ground to the mat, just starting to pivot from the heels and toes, perhaps just keeping elbows bound, or you can create another shoulder stretch, catching another bind here if that feels nourishing today. And as you bend your knees, you're sort of just maneuvering side to side, stirring through your hips, feeling a nice big stretch, opening up. And then moving all the way up into chair for a moment, but chair pose, Utkatasana, as you stand up, reach the arms up, and we sink down into our legs into this deep squat. We just allow that chair pose to take us down lower into toe stand, and then we'll bring our hands down to our heart, hooking the right elbow to the left knee. You'll just take a moment here with your heart chakra work. Hook the right elbow to the left knee, left elbow to the side of your bottom, and we take a side crow. Seeing if you can balance your thighs onto your triceps for a moment, lift the feet up, engage your core, and press back onto toe stand. Coming to the same variation second side, so arms reach up, take a moment with your heart's energetics. Fingertips open wide, imagine you've got that ball of light, and then hook the left elbow outside right knee, and outside the side of the bottom, hover your feet, balance thighs onto triceps, feel that twist through your core, and bring yourself back. If it didn't happen today, that's totally fine. It can take some time to get that one. Lengthening your legs long, we bring our fingertips behind us, pointed towards our hips, and we lift up to this big high plank reverse tabletop. So you can do this one with knees bent like so, activating the glutes to open the front of your shoulders and just lifting up like that, taking a few big breaths. Or for more of a challenge, you can start to lift up and then lengthen your legs all the way out, aiming to maintain your feet sort of grounded, the soles of your feet grounded on the mat. It's a really challenging one, I find, for the front of the thighs. But just see how you go. If you're working reverse tabletop with knees bent, that's still nice and opening for the shoulders and the chest. The other one is quite a strong advanced pose. Good one for our throat chakra though. Breathe in, we find Paschimottanasana, forward fold. The arms reach up, lengthening through the spine. Exhale, hinging forward, catching the big toes if they're available, or otherwise just releasing your arms down beside you. Hinging from your hips, leading from your heart space, avoiding the urge to tighten or contract through your shoulders, and try to keep that throat and heart open. Sort of visualize how you'd feel in an upward facing dog and then recreate that in your body as you find the fold. Then we catch our right big toe with right hand, left big toe with left hand. We bend our knees and we see if we can open this up into our boat pose. The legs either stay bent, knees wide, or lengthen the legs out, open your heart and throat towards the sun above. Widen your legs, maintain your core activation, keep your heart open, and then hinge forward into your wide-legged fold. Bring your hands between your thighs, hinge forward, leading once again from the hips and heart space. Taking deep breaths in through the nose and long breaths out. The arms can start to sweep out long, or you can stay on the forearms or hands, whatever is supportive. Finding a side bend, right elbow hooks inside right thigh, left hand sweeps over to the right. Breathing into that left lung, deep breath in, and a long breath out. Deep breath in, Release the left elbow inside left thigh. Right hand sweeps over towards the left side, finding your side bend, second side. Take a deep breath in and a long breath out. Starting to bring your fingertips back behind for another reverse tabletop, either with your knees bent, fingertips pointing to hips, or lengthen the legs out. Challenge yourself, open up that throat, open up the whole front line, keep your back body active. It's a challenging one, but I believe you can do it. Big breath in and then lower your hips down. Long breath out. Flipping over onto the belly for open wing. Creating a cactus arm 90-degree angle on the left side, drape your right leg over towards the left and linger there, opening up that left shoulder, opening up the right side of your hips and lower back. Returning to your breath. And then roll over to the second side, create a cactus wing, 90-degree angle on the right arm, wrap the left leg over, left fingertips begin lined up underneath the left shoulder as you open to this one. Taking a few more deep breaths, breathing up the front of your body. Roll yourself back through center and a variation on cobra pose. Fingertips stay wide in that cactus arm on both sides. We start to activate our lower back, press into the fingertips as you open up the front of your chest, open the throat and look up. Exhale as you fold back down to your mat. Breathe in as you press into your fingertips, lift up, open up, and then create the circuit. Bend your knees, create a circuit from the top of the head to the tips of the toes, rising up and lowering down, release the legs. One more. Lift up into the fingertips, open throat. Either stay there or bend your knees, create the circuit from the tips of the toes to the top of the head. Sink back for another child's pose or melting heart, yogi's choice. Sit bones lift high, forearms sweep wide, heart folds towards the mat. Either forehead meets the mat or your chin is tucked under, you're opening up the throat. It's a deep melting sensation around the heart space. Your knees are hip distance, toes can be tucked or untucked. And you're aiming to feel that real melting heart space, cracking wide open sensation here. Press into the fingertips, bend your elbows, return back into a kneeling variation. And then sinking down from your kneeling variety back down onto your belly. Bringing the elbows underneath the line of the neck and then catch the neck in both hands. So you're in this sort of supported sphinx with your throat being supported by your hands, and then you can sort of just let the knees fall like dominoes to the right, feet fall to the right, and then domino to the left, and then just surrender in the center of your mat behind you. Returning all the way back now onto a kneeling position, kneeling Caesar, returning for our heart openers. Arms sweep up. Cactus your wings, squeeze into your shoulder blades. Exhale, sink to your knees, dome out the upper back. Breathe in as you open the shape cactus, your arms. Exhale, bring it forward. Inhale, open, heart opens, throat opens, working all the way from that big heart opening activator towards your camel variety. So see if you can catch on to your ankles. You might like to tuck the toes under for height, or otherwise you're in this deep camel, toes are untucked, you've caught your heels, you open the throat, your whole back body is actively engaged to open up the front line of your chest, your heart, your shoulders, your throat. It's a big one. Taking about 2 more big breaths if you can maintain it. You've got this. Big heart and throat opening back bend. And then bring your hands to the lower back. Slowly release out of that one. Come back to your kneeling Caesar. Take one hand to your heart, the other down to your lower belly. Close your eyes down. Just notice your breath. Notice the intensity of your breath. Notice the energy in your body. Noticing the shifts, the transformation that's occurred. By actively choosing the truth, your truth, you are committing to an elevated version of yourself. and all that does not match your heightened vibration will fall away. Purification takes place. What was true for you once may not be true for you today. The throat chakra practices encourage you to accept the seasonality of all things, including yourself. So as you sit here, you might just gently like to work and follow me through some neck circles. Circling in clockwise directions, circling anti-clockwise. And then just take your right hand to the left side of the head, tilt the head over to the right. Relax your left shoulder back and down, feeling a gentle neck stretch. Taking a few big breaths, release that side. The opposite hand catches the opposite side of the head. We tilt the head over to the left. Drape that right shoulder back and down as you feel that gentle opening through the side of your neck and shoulders. So when we find the courage and ability to express and speak our truth, we truly show up as ourselves without fear or hesitation. The throat chakra is about communication, what we say, how we say it, and how we express ourselves creatively. It's not necessarily about what you really say at all, it's rather the tone and expression in which you say it. It is the energy you bring to all that you share and all that you choose to express. So you might just release that stretch, come back into another round of neck circles, circling fast or circling slow, just working instinctively with your body, noticing where the tension is and just allowing your movements to mirror that and to release that. And we're coming back into this familiar heart opener. We're hinging forward from our hips, opening up our heart, opening up our throat, lean back, and then lead from your hips. Imagine you're like offering something in your hands. So you're offering the energy of your heart. You're taking your hands back, opening up the throat, opening up the heart. Hinge it forward from your hips, creating that sensation of offering, and then rise all the way up again to this high kneeling position, and the arms open out like great big wings. We hinge back from our hips. We bring our body weight forward, offering our energy, offering our hearts. Starting to catch a bind at our wrists as you find a side bend here up on your knees. Side bend to the right, back through center, catch the opposing wrist. Side bend over to the left, up here on your knees. And then finding eagle arms or gomakasana arms. Sink back into toe stands. So the toes tuck under, the sit bones now rest on your heels. You've got your right elbow on top of the left elbow, and then you're in this double bind or aiming to catch that opposite wrist with the right hand catching left hand. See how you go. If you're not getting double binds, just work the bind that's happening with your arms today. You should feel sort of a opening through the backs of your shoulders, the scapula, the shoulder blades. You can sort of let the chin just sort of nestle in comfortably here, lifting up through the elbows, but draw down through the shoulder blades while you work this one. You might feel the energy rather down in the ankles, the feet, or the toes, because toes can be quite intense. Notice the contraction in your body. Notice the resistance. Then release it, catch your bind, rise back up onto the knees, open your heart, open your throat. Maybe catching your heels once more, finding a camel. Deep breath in, long breath out, working that heart and throat opening shape, noticing the energetics of that heart space, your throat expanding, amplifying, your courage to release and express your creativity out into the world, to express your heart freely, to express your vulnerability, to let your unique nature shine openly. That's what this allows you to do. And then we go the other way. So this time your right elbow is underneath and your left elbow is on top, and then you're catching the opposing wrist. Back in your eagle, back in your toe stand. Closing the eyes down, being with the sensations in your body once more. Big breath in, lift out of your elbows, but draw down with your shoulders. Keep eyes closed. Notice the intensity of this one, the intensity of the shape. Stay with your breath. Knowing that you did not come to this planet to be a watered down version of yourself. Where is your fear of not being loved, accepted, received by others, blocking you from shining your authentic gifts? Where is that blocking you from the freedom of being yourself? Returning to camel, either take hands to lower back as you rise up onto the knees, or otherwise open your throat, catch your heels, taking a few more big breaths in your camel variation, deepening the breath in through the nose and taking long breaths out, activating the back line of your body, feeling that recruitment of the glutes, lower back actively on to open up the chest, the throat, the shoulders. Hands return to lower back as we ease on out. And then returning back into your kneeling Caesar variety. One hand to heart, the other to the belly. Connect back in with the sensations. Connect back in with your breath. Through the choice to express yourself freely, to speak your truth courageously, you have the power to transform your entire life. Through this choice you can make to show up as the most authentic, embodied version of yourself in every situation, in every relationship, in every moment. So coming down now onto the belly, we're finding our closed wings. So this one's kind of similar to those eagle arms. You're creating this crossover. So as you lay on your belly, you're gliding your right arm over to the left arm over to the right, and see if you can have your palms either facing up or down, whatever. There's a crossover. It kind of feels like you're in a straight jacket. Again, it's a nice big opening for the chest and shoulders. And you can just nestle your head in wherever it falls. Your feet can be wide on your mat. Deepen your breath. Notice the effect of the stretch. Can you imagine what your life would look like if you showed up as the most embodied, authentic, powerful, radiant version of who you know yourself to be in every moment of your existence? What would it feel like in your body to know that you are always safe to stand in what you know to be true on a soul level? To be a channel of divine remembrance for all the beings graced by the power of your presence upon this earth. To not hold or withhold anything. To know that your voice, your expression, your creativity are sacred, are powerful, and are worthy of being received and gifted to this world. So releasing that side, we come in through the second side. So if your right arm was sort of glided underneath, you're going to bring that forward and glide the left arm underneath. So you're just switching up your arms here in your closed wings. And just taking a few more big breaths. Knowing that there are people in this world who will love you when you find that courage to let your light be seen, let your heart be known. When you find the courage to express yourself authentically, to express your truth. And the only way those people are going to find you and be magnetized towards you is if you begin to express that truth openly and freely now. Something that I learnt from a friend, which I'll tell you shortly because I seem to be moving out of the stretch. So just release that stretch. Come back into this supported sphinx. So elbows below the line of the neck, feet at hip distance, and you're supporting the throat with your fingertips, feeling that gentle opening and release once again. Come back to your breath. Take a few big breaths here. Feel that gentle awakening of the energetics of your heart space, your communication, your truth, your authentic truth, your authentic light. And as you feel that opening in your body, gently beginning to release once again out of that shape, and then roll over onto your back. And as you roll over onto your back, take your left hand to your heart, your right hand down to your womb, your lower belly, your hara, your dantian, or just your abdomen, whichever wording suits you today. Close your eyes, connect with yourself. Let your awareness travel into your being, in towards what's present. And just taking this moment to release responsibility for the versions of yourself that live inside the minds of others. To release the responsibility for the reactions of other people to the expression of your truth. Pressing up to bridge pose, so drawing your shoulders together, catching a bind behind the lower back, feet are hip distance apart. We activate our glutes and we lift all the way up into bridge pose when you feel ready and able. You can otherwise keep your hands just sort of grounded, unbound beside you. You can maintain bridge, or you can press all the way up from bridge pose to Urdhva Dhanurasana, bringing your fingertips up through towards your ears, bending the elbows, activate your glutes, open up the chest, open up the throat, open up your heart space even more, knowing your only responsibility is to be yourself and to shine your light. Breathing 2 more big breaths in your back bend. Activate the back of your body. Feel this expression in your heart, your chest, your throat, and then slowly lower yourself down. Bring one hand to your heart, the other down to the belly. You can widen your feet into a supine butterfly. Closing the eyes down, taking a few more big breaths. Releasing anything that's blocking you from showing up as your embodied, authentic self. It is one thing to know who you are on a soul level, but to truly express yourself on a soul level is a completely different thing. Starting to begin to connect back with your breath. You might open your arms wide to the side in this stretch. Or you might like to just keep one hand on the heart, the other on your belly. Taking a few more deep breaths. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out through nose or mouth. And as you rest in this shape, just taking a quiet moment to energetically send your throat, your voice, this center of your body, so much love and forgiveness for moments when you didn't honor your truth, when you suppressed your vulnerability, when you suppressed your creativity, when you lied or you neglected or betrayed yourself in any moment through life, when you made yourself small or put yourself down. And from this position, beginning to take the right knee on top of the left knee, create twisted roots or a double bind like eagle legs, and then let the knees fall over to the left side as you look to the right side. You're in a nice big spinal twist here, essentially. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out through nose or mouth. Take a few more big breaths, noticing that nice big twist through your body, this nice big release. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out fear for the parts of you that are afraid. For any masks that you might still be wearing to feel loved and significant. And then starting to find twisted roots on the second side. So roll back through center. Take the left knee, stack it on top of the right, and then see if you can tuck that left foot underneath the right calf muscle. Turn your gaze, turn your neck to face that left side as the knees fold over to the right. The ability to speak our truth is an act of self-love, self-respect, and self-worth. Sometimes speaking our truth is about holding boundaries for ourselves. It's about speaking and putting the words out to create what it is we desire in life, to stand for something, to stand for our boundaries, to stand for our expectations, to stand for our morals, to take a stand for our beliefs. So releasing yourself from your twist and just bring your hands underneath the sit bones, ground through the elbows, open your chest and throat as you start to find your way into fish pose. Feeling this nice big activation for the heart, activation for the throat. And I personally think that the throat chakra is one of the hardest chakras and energies to come into true alignment with, because it requires you to have the courage to ruffle some feathers in the spirit of self-respect and self-love. To maybe even trigger others or upset them because you're not showing up as the version of you that they might want you to be. To release the need to please others. Releasing yourself from that shape, and we come through to a shoulder stand. And then, like you've been doing, you might like to just play around with some movements, leg binds in your stand, or otherwise just keep your legs straight up above you. The hands are supporting your lower back. Your legs are elevated in the shape, and it allows for the blood flow to rush back through towards your heart. Again, you can see that I'm playing around with some binds and lotus variations. You're welcome to try those if you like, or otherwise just stay as you are. There's no pressure to be anything that you're not, or do anything that doesn't feel in alignment with you today. This practice is about you tuning into your body, tuning into your authentic, unique needs and desires, and holding a boundary and holding space in your heart for those things, expressing the authentic truth of your heart, expressing your desires, expressing your needs. This practice is all about allowing your true expression to come forth and be gifted to not only yourself but also the world. So you can slowly come out of your stand, ground your body weight back down onto the mat. And then either in a seated upright position on your back, or like I am sitting up right now, you can just start to take a few domino knees, letting the knees domino like windscreen wipers to the right and left. And then return back up for another shoulder stand. So elbows ground, hands support lower back. You can again continue to play around with the shape if that feels in alignment. Or this time, what I'm desiring to work on is to let this shoulder stand start to lead you into plow halasana. So eventually you'll bring your legs over and beyond once you're finished playing around like I am here. Eventually your legs will invert overhead 45 degrees, and you'll begin to either just let your feet hover above you there behind you, or you might notice your feet ground to the earth. The arms can then create a bind on your mat, just like this big bind we've been working with throughout the entire practice, or otherwise you can keep your hands supporting your lower back. Keep your chin tucked and your attention straight ahead, so not moving through the neck here. Taking a few more big breaths in through the nose, out through nose or mouth. Maintaining your halasana plow variety. And then when you feel ready to come out of the shape in your own time, you can slowly release your body weight back down, or if you feel comfortable to linger here a little bit longer, you are more than welcome to do so, but please do this at your own discretion, at your own pace. So vertebrae by vertebrae, we start to ease down. So the hands will come back to support the lower back, and you'll start to allow your body weight to ground back down onto the mat when you feel complete. Or you can try this variety where you catch your big toes and you rock up into a boat pose. The chest opens, your heart opens, the throat opens, your core is on, and we release boat. We come forward into a forwarded variety of butterfly, Baddha Konasana. Hinging from the hips, let your hands either sweep out long or rest towards your ankles or knees. Relax the back of the neck, relax your chest, relax your forehead. Take a few more deep breaths in through the nose and long emptying breaths out through nose or mouth. Breathing in and breathing out. Releasing any feelings of unworthiness, feelings of guilt, feelings of shame, or not being good enough to be accepted and received by others. Releasing that responsibility for others' opinions of you. It's not your responsibility. And then from here, we're coming into cow facing pose or gomukhasana. So you're taking the right knee, stack it on top of the left knee, and then sweep your left arm high over towards the right side. Finding a nice big side bend, right hand sweeps over to the left side, and we'll just work that both ways. So breathe in, come back for the first side bend, arm sweep up, and then exhale, folding over towards the left, or you might like to linger a little bit longer in your side bends. Hinging forward to deepen the stretch in your hips. You are not responsible for the versions of yourself that live inside the minds of others. Knowing this, where can I show up more authentically in my life? Are all of my relationships in alignment with who I truly am in this moment? Where am I not being 100% authentic to myself? Is there something that I need to express, but are fearful of the conversation that will follow? So due to that, I am withholding. As you come into the second side of your cow facing pose, bringing the left knee on top, right knee underneath, and finding your side stretches, you might just contemplate these questions. Are there any aspects of your life that you're overlooking that finally need the spotlight? Is there any truth that's become louder because you've been ignoring it? You'll find that your truth speaks louder when you ignore or suppress it. And it doesn't feel nice in the body to be withholding your truth. Sometimes it can actually physically feel like a lump in your throat. Tension in your jaw. Releasing yourself out of that variety. Bring your knees in for a cuddle, circle, stir, rolling over onto your back and taking a happy baby. Massaging into the muscles of the back body, relaxing your face, relaxing your belly and jaw. And then we'll take another back bend here. So either coming up for a bridge pose or preparing for that, or taking another wheel with the fingertips pointing up towards your ears. Activating the back of your body, upward facing bow or wheel, Urdhva Dhanurasana. Activate your glutes, really open up your heart, lengthen, expand your arms, expand your chest, open your throat. Feel this big expansion in your body you can create with this shape. Whether you're in bridge, whether you're in the full wheel, just go for it. Feel the expansion, feel the new energy, feel your heart cracking wide open, feel your expression opening. And then slowly come down out of your back bend and rest on your back. And this supine butterfly, the feet come together, the knees butterfly wide, arms can be wide like open wings, or you can again take one hand to the belly, the other to your heart, your chest. Close down your eyes and rest in love, rest in gratitude. Resting in the knowing that all the past versions of yourself, they did the best they could at the time with what they knew how to do. So releasing any guilt or shame from moments where you may not have expressed yourself freely. And imagine as you exhale now, you're sending a wave of healing, forgiveness, and love to all of these past versions of yourself that need that love. Breathe in pure golden healing, sweet nectar to all versions of yourself. And let all of these past versions of yourself know that through all of those moments of self-sabotage, your future self has arrived in a place of self-love, self-worth, self-acceptance, and self-expression, where they've embraced themselves fully, and they'll continue to embrace the beauty of their expression, their creativity, and their voice from here forward. Knowing that all has been restored and that the power lies within you to feel the fear and do it anyway. To be your most raw, authentic, embodied self, to show up as your higher self every day because you're worth it. Because you know who you are. And you won't let anyone's opinions waver that or affect that. So you can release yourself now into Shavasana, relaxation. The legs are long, the feet are hip distance apart, and you're just resting, grounding in this new energy, this new awareness. That's quite a heart-opening practice today. So just deepening your breath with this last sentiment that the only way to truly create a life that you're in love with is to express who you are in all that you do. When you do this, you'll attract only things in alignment with your energy. You will only attract people, places, relationships that are in resonance with your vibration, with your unique energy. So your life will get better and better when you find the courage to show up authentically and be yourself more freely and truthfully. If you'd like to continue in Shavasana, feel free to rest and relax for as long as you like. Otherwise, coming up into a kneeling position when you feel ready, and we will close this practice out. Bring one hand to your heart, the other down to your belly. Take a deep breath in and exhale, let it all go.